In this video, the Garmin Edge 830 pitched against the Edge 1030 Plus. Just what you need, a comparison of two 3-year-old bike computers. But both are high-end Garmin bike GPSs crammed with training and top bike fun features. Both will do the necessary on your next sojourn into the boondocks, and both are still worth buying. But which is best for you? Let Uncle Monty tell you.
Oh my boys. My boys.
A word of context, I'm not a professional reviewer, whatever that is. I just buy a load of bike computers, largely funded by my blog, mess around with them and shout out my thoughts. So let's get into the toilet bowl, starting with the most important grift nut. Where does the Plus come from? Commence speculation mode. Every so often, Garmin releases an updated version of an existing model that doesn't get the number allocation team excited enough to think up a whole new one. The Edge 520 Plus, for instance, added onboard navigation and other whiz-bangs to the existing 520 before Garmin moved on to the 530, which replaced both. The Edge 1030 Plus is obviously the equivalent half update of the Edge 1030. My big bad guess is that when the 530 and the 830 were launched 2 years after the 1030, their CPU upgrade was very obvious. They immediately became much more usable, showing the Edge 1030 up. But since Garmin wasn't yet ready to move to the next generation 10 series device with design changes to warrant a whole new number, now we know it's the Edge 1040, it released the interim 1030 Plus. Speculation mode over. Where does each sit in the range? Let's keep this simple. The new Edge 1040 and its solar variant is top of the tree. Then in second we have the Edge 1030 Plus. In third in the range the 830, followed by the 530 and the 130. We'll politely ignore the Edge Explore 2 as it doesn't follow the same numbering convention and is clearly for absolute losers. Enough about range bollocks though, let's compare some features. Navigation and mapping. Well, software-wise they're the same, and the way you interact with the navigation features versus, say, the Edge 530 is also the same. Both the 1030 Plus and the 830 are touchscreen, which makes using the maps without repeatedly punching yourself in the face a heck of a lot easier. Both have full onboard navigation. Plug in a destination or select a point of interest from the list, and the Edge 1030 Plus or 830 will plot you a route. Upload a route file or sync with Strava or ride with GPS, and they'll flash up turn directions and recalculate if you go wrong. Both have 3 different map formats: the original classic colour scheme and the more recently added danger, high contrast and mountain biking themes. So all in all very similar, except for one key aspect. With the Edge 1030 Plus you can see more map. Technical term, because it has a bigger screen. Shock horror, you probably knew this already. In pure dimensional terms, the Edge 830 sports a 2.6-inch display, whilst the 1030 Plus commands 3.5 inches of screen real estate. So the 1030 Plus map screen will show more detail, or the same area, just with higher definition. And the general rule, I guess, is more is always nicer. But whether you need the additional screen area and you can stump up the extra moo-la-la-la is a matter for you and your wallet. Before buying the Edge 1030 Plus, I never yearned for a larger screen area. If I wanted a big old map interrogation session, I'd whip out my iPhone. That said, I can't deny that having a bit more screen to play with in the zooming in and out, swooping around the map screen sense hasn't been a Brucey bonus on the larger device. Both computers have touchscreens and they work well. Performance in wet conditions has been fine, for me at least. We've all got different fingers. They're a bit hit and miss with gloves on, but to be fair, my iPhone is entirely miss with gloves on. Whilst neither screen has wahoo levels of sharpness and definition, which I'm 99% certain isn't the correct technical term, I've found recent Garmin displays easy to read in most, if not all riding conditions, although I do accept that some would challenge this. For some reason, Garmin limits the maximum font size even when you reduce the number of data fields down to 1. This leaves loads of white space versus Wahoo, which allows for Wahoosive font sizes. This is the same for both the 830 and the 1030 Plus though, so if we're comparing those two devices, this is a wash. Size and weight. With great power, a larger screen, comes great responsibility, a larger device case. The 1030 Plus is larger than the Edge 830 by about 8mm in width and just over 30mm in length. Putting that into not particularly well-defined context, the 830 isn't mini, but I'd still say it's a compact bike computer. This, in turn, means that the Edge 1030 Plus isn't jumbo. It doesn't look like a behemoth, either in your hand or upon your handlebars. In a 1030 Plus versus modest-sized smartphone boxing match, the former would be punching well above its weight class. Talking about weight, more plastic and whatever else they make these things out of means the 1030 Plus comes in at 124 grams versus 79 grams for the 830. If the 45 grams, about 3/4 of an energy bar difference, has a material impact on your riding performance or enjoyment, then I think you might have come to the wrong YouTubes. Processor power. GPS makers generally don't go around disclosing the inner specs of their devices, but the 1030 Plus and the 830 perform the same, so it's also safe to assume their tech gubbins are also the same or similar. When the 830 was released along with the 530, many of the new features were added to the previous 1030. No Plus. This highlighted the fact that the 1030 was quite slow compared to the new models. So Garmin released the 1030 Plus primarily to correct this lack of processing grunt in its top of the range device. Battery life. Both the 830 and the 1030 Plus have more battery life than I could reasonably use in one Wahoosive ride or a few decent sized ones. Still, for what it's worth, the Edge 830 bump says it's up to 20 hours. The 1030 Plus purports to have an additional 4. So a whole 1 of your human Earth days in total. If that's insufficient for your burgeoning ultra endurance career, then might Sir or Madam consider investing in a Garmin Charge Power Pack, which provides another 24 hours of power. Both devices are compatible, connecting with the charge via these electrical contacts in the mount cleat type thing on the back of each device. So that's nice. Connectivity, no difference. Next! Both connect to the same cornucopia of data sensors, indoor trainers, and other random devices you might want to link with your bike computer, including the not so random and in fact excellent Vario radar and the tremendously standard but also excellent Wahoo Kicker. So no good reason to pick between the two devices in this arena. Other software-y bits. And that theme continues. Pretty much all of the Edge software features are common to both the 830 and the 1030 Plus, with one exception that feels quite minor. I'll come on to that in a sec. The safety and tracking features are the same. Live tracking for family members that are avid dot watchers, incident detection, bike alarm. Now, I don't really use them, you might. I do, however, use Garmin's Climb Pro feature, the specific and colourful analysis of the length and gradient of each climb on my route, and I'm a big fan. But it features on both the 1030 Plus and the 830. So no worries there. Which brings us to training, where the 1030 Plus has one extra teeny tiny sub-feature. Do not fear, the Edge 830 has absolutely everything the serious, semi-serious and, my category, rank amateur cyclist might need from a training perspective. The ability to upload and follow sophisticated workouts, dynamic performance monitoring and training status, cycling dynamics for pedal power meter users, feed and drink reminders, and a lot more. So the only difference is that the Edge 1030 Plus has daily suggested workouts and the 830 doesn't. Daily suggested workouts is a feature that uses Garmin's first Beat Analytics engine, whatever that is, to suggest your next training session based on your current fitness, recent training history and recovery level. The 1030 Plus was the first device to get it, but it's since appeared on a range of Garmin watches, and I'm assuming the 1040, not the 830 though. But it's no big loss as far as I'm concerned. Your mileage may vary. So those are the features comparified and scarified. Let's circle the plug hole of my which should you buy question, starting with, are they still updated? Yes, they're both current highly illustrious members of the Garmin Edge lineup. Both receive regular firmware updates from Garmin, some of which introduce full-blown new features. At the time of recording, the last firmware updates for both were released a couple of months ago. Will they be replaced? Well, everyone gets replaced eventually. The 1030 Plus is the newer of the two models, launching into the Veliverse in June 2020. Despite this, it was the first to be superseded rather than replaced, because the 1030 Plus is still for sale. It remains a perfectly viable and attractive bike computer purchase, even if it no longer occupies the tippity-top slot in the Garmin range, particularly as the 1040 launching has shifted the 1030 Plus down in price. The 830 was released in May 2019. Since Garmin launches Edge model updates every 3 to 4 years, and we've already seen the 1040, feels like a safe bet to expect the new 8 Series Edge, let's go crazy and call it the 840, in 2023, maybe April or May. As is hopefully clear, I am a random muppet making videos in a shipping container. I have no actual intelligence on this, or intelligence generally. Price. Bigger screen, bigger battery, bigger price. Unsurprisingly, in recommended price terms, the 1030 Plus costs about £170 more than the 830. Presumably, it's a similar difference in dollars. If the winds of sale are blowing in your favour, even on the Garmin website, the difference can be as low as 80 squid. You can buy a decent amount of other bike stuff. A good set of pedals, a year's supply of inner tubes, sufficient muck off to bathe in for £170. At £80, well, Captain Obvious notes there's not as much in it. So the all-important question, which should you buy? As in most areas of great importance, it comes down to size. If having greater screen real estate, particularly when using the maps and navigating, is your priority, then the Edge 1030 Plus is the one to plump for, assuming the extra moolah requirement doesn't tip you into eternal penury. The extra battery life is also handy. I've certainly seen commentary on this funky new YouTube website that suggests the larger device is better for bike packing and touring, particularly for multi-day trips. For everyone else, the Edge 830 is more than adequate. Navigation is perfectly usable despite the smaller screen. It's a neat little device that looks sufficiently pro on your handlebars. If you use the Edge as a training tool, beyond measuring outputs, the 830 is, to all intents and purposes, the same as the 1030 Plus. I'm not sure how many riders there are that are sufficiently interested in training performance to pay £170 for the additional daily suggested workout feature that aren't already sufficiently knowledgeable or motivated to follow an actual long-term structured training program. Maybe Garmin knows differently. I'm sure they do. I'm just an uninformed velotuber wittering into the void. But shifting the question slightly, which one would I buy? Well, I bought the Edge 830 first. Despite all my blog wealth, I could not bring myself to buy the 1030 Plus until it reduced from its original launch price. I need to buy a fair number of bike computers to write and make videos about to fund my addiction to Clarky Cat. But despite this, I still struggled to spend over £500 on a bike computer. When the 1030 Plus fell to less than 400 quid, I snapped it up so that I could see what all the big device fuss was about. There is no big device fuss. And I like it a lot. The larger screen on the Edge 1030 Plus is objectively better. It makes the device easier to use. But the resulting larger overall size of the 1030 Plus is not so big that it becomes unwieldy or looks ugly on the bike. Assuming there's not too much in it price-wise, right now I'd be guiding you towards the Edge 1030 Plus over the Edge 830. And with that, I'm away. Links to the bike computers mentioned are in the pinned comment below. Please give this video a like.
Écoutez-moi!